Hey, what is going on, Geminis? Butch here. I am going to do the remainder of March read. It is a general read, so it may not resonate with everyone. It is for your Sun, Moon, Rising, and your Venus. For all you cross watchers, roles can be reversed. Always feel free to comment down below. I know a lot of you have commented and tried to train me how to say this. I'm going to screw it up again. I know it. But I'm going to be using the Santa Morte. I'm supposed to roll it. That's what somebody told me, and I don't know. I've never been... I tried to learn Spanish years ago, but my brain doesn't work that way, I guess. So I'm sorry. With all that being said, let's get it. Here's what we have. What do we got for Gemini for March 2023? Let me see for Gemini. What's going on for Gemini? Get 2 more shovels for Gemini. All right, Gemini. So the first thing I see, Gemini, is there is definitely some energy around you, but I feel like as much as there's this energy, I feel like at every turn there's a lot of blockage. You know, I feel like with this person, it's very hard to see what's right in front of you. You know, I feel like with this person, I feel like communication, great communication with this person. I feel like you can talk to this person about anything except the important things. And that's where the blockages come in. You know, I feel like there's very, very fluent and very open communication. And I feel like you can talk about this person with just about anything. I feel like you can tell each other secrets. You can communicate. You know, you can tell each other, you know, you just be honest with each other without judgment. You know, I feel like there's definitely a lot of similarities between the two of you, and I feel like that may be one of the issues that you're going to be facing with this person. You know, I feel like you're very, like I said, very open communication, very honest with each other about the things that we talk about. But it's the things we don't talk about, you know, it's the things that we're omitting. And I feel like the biggest elephant in the room here is we're not talking about how we feel about each other. You know, I feel like that's going to be the biggest block here. Like I said, I feel like until we do that, we get that Knight of Cups, you know, non-committal type of emotional connection. You know, I feel like I said, I feel like we're open and honest about what we talk about. You know, we can share everything with each other except for the important things. And I feel like that's the biggest block here. If we can't talk about the important things, the other things really don't matter. You know, I feel like there's a lot of anxiety within this person. Possibly even anxiety within you. Afraid that you can't be honest with each other about the things that are most important. And with that is what you want from this. You know, that's what's causing you anxiety. You know, what each other wants from this, not knowing what the other person wants with that Two of Wands in reverse. Not knowing what you mean to this person, not knowing, you know, where this is going. And because neither one of you seem to know that, it's almost like we can't commit to it. We can't, It's like growing a plant to a point where it outgrows the planter. It's time for a bigger planter, but we're still trying to grow it in that same planter. This needs to grow. But as long as we're not, as long as we have that self-imposed prison. Now this energy is very strong in this read, so it could be them, and it could be both of you that's holding back. And as long as we hold back, we can't move forward. There's a lot of, we have the justice in reverse. There's a lot of out of balance energy here. And the only way to balance it out is to be honest, is to have the talk. Talk about the things that we have been avoiding talking about. Because I feel like very, very similar energies between the two of you. One or both of you is putting a lot of work into avoiding the real issues. And I've talked about this before. When there's a certain energy between two people, and if we ignore it, like that elephant in the room, picture it as a baby elephant, and that keeps growing, and eventually that room's not going to be big enough for the both of you and that elephant. It's going to outgrow it, just like the plant. And I feel like, on their side, I feel like they feel like if they don't, it's almost like that fear of committing fully is the only way they feel like they're going to be successful. Like if they don't commit fully, if they don't give everything they have, then they won't lose. That's very non-productive. That defensive energy. And I feel this on both sides, so I'm not going to just blame them. I'm not just going to blame you. I feel like there's defensiveness. I feel like there's something really real between the two of you. Like the potential here is so high, but it carries more risk. Like, I don't feel like you've ever met anybody like this, and I don't feel like, the same thing for them. I don't feel like there's anybody else for either one of you. Like, neither one of you are looking at anything else. But it's like, even though you're not looking anywhere else, you're also not completely committing to this. A lot of negative thinking in this sort that we're looking at the negatives instead of the positives here. The negatives being, if I completely commit, I leave myself vulnerable. I can get hurt. And I feel like for a very long time, and I say this with the utmost respect, for a very long time, neither one of you thought you were going to meet that person. Sometimes we feel like we're an alien on this planet and that we'll never meet our match. So we go on with that mindset that even if it does seem right, even if we meet someone that it feels absolutely perfect, it's hard to commit. It's hard to leave yourself vulnerable. There's a lot of overthinking going on here. And this is not just you, Gemini. I know Geminis like to overthink. Trust me, I know Geminis. And I know Geminis have a tendency of being very all over the place sometimes, because sometimes it's hard. It's hard. We're in a world where it's very cynical. So much is going on, and you see all these things going on, and you try to think that you want that person in your life. You want someone special in your life, but if you're not willing to give it all to that person, then why should they give you it all? Now, it's not to say that, I'm not saying you're not trying or they're not trying. I just feel like it's the problem with having all this energy. If we ignore it, that energy turns toxic, and it causes chaotic energy. And then you're not expressing your emotional, you're not expressing yourself emotionally. You're expressing yourself passionately, or, if you don't put the emotion out that you need to put out in the right way, it'll definitely come out the wrong way. And I feel like that's what we're possibly looking at here. I feel like it's going to get, there's a lot of chaotic energy coming if we don't address what we need to address. There's a lot of physical. I mean, you have the Knight of Wands. I feel like I said before, I feel like there's so many things we're compatible in, even more than we even realize. But I feel like physically and mentally we're on the same page. Emotionally we're on the same page, but we're not telling each other. And that's where the block comes in. This is why it's going to be hard for us to move forward with this if we keep ignoring saying what really needs to be said. I feel like you're exactly where you need to be. I feel like there's a foundation that's already that starts from day one. There's a foundation, there's a bond that you have with this person. It's not like any other bond. But I feel like you're exactly where you need to be. And that foundation has already started. But I feel like you need to trust your intuition, no matter if it doesn't feel like something, even if your intuition is telling you something you don't necessarily want to hear. That's what your intuition is. It's not going to tell you what you want to hear all the time. It's going to tell you what you need to hear. And sometimes it's hard to put ourselves out there. It's hard to risk it all. Especially the more you care about someone, the harder it is to put yourself out there, because that risk becomes that much greater. But I mean, we have the Lovers card here as well. There's something much deeper at play here. And I've said this plenty of times before. It's that iceberg. It's that iceberg love. There's definitely something between the two of you. You can see it. You can see a small portion of it. But until we really dig in, we're not going to see the rest. The closer you get to each other, the more you're going to see. And you're going to see how deep this really goes. But if we're going to act blind to it, I mean, we all seen the Titanic. They didn't see the iceberg. And it sank the ship. And the worst part about this is I feel like neither one of you are really ever going to let this go. So we have to have that talk to embrace this. And if we don't have that talk, the shit will explode. And it'll come out in a very toxic way. Like I said, I feel like you can talk about anything with this person, but we haven't talked about everything with this person, if that makes sense. The answer is right there in front of you. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of happiness here, but we haven't even scratched the surface of how great this could be until we're absolutely honest with each other. And I feel like once that happens, I feel, we will find balance in the situation. We will find the next level of this connection, the bigger pot, like I was saying about the plant. Sometimes we can have somebody in our life that we're honest with. We feel like we can say anything to, but we don't necessarily say everything to. And I feel like that's what's going to be holding you back until you open up that communication about everything. When you're with the person you're meant to be with, like I said, I feel like there's a very strong bond. This is a lifelong bond, and it's not something you're ever really going to walk away from. It needs to be embraced, and as long as we're ignoring it, it doesn't stop. Just because we think that, you think of like the ostrich, just because they put their head in the sand doesn't mean what's around them's going away. You can ignore it until it boils over, and then all that positive energy turns into negative energy. Like I said, I mean, this person just wants to grab you and hold on to you, and I feel like you want the same thing. But until we have that talk, we can't move forward. Especially with Geminis. Geminis are communicators. And as long as we have something that needs to be said, that is being said, we're picking up on the energy that is there. But if it's not being said, then it's not real. Now with this person, I have Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. You know, don't wait till it's too late. It's the only thing I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna tell anybody ever what to do. I'm just saying, you know, even the right person can take a wrong, even the right connection, even the person that was meant for you can take the wrong turn. You know, it is scary. It is scary to be open with someone. You know, for story time, we're going to do story time. But for this story time, it's going to be a little different. I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of not saying what needed to be said. I'm guilty of not feeling what needed to be felt. You know, I've had a real connection in my life. And the fear I felt of becoming vulnerable outweighed the fear of giving everything. I was more afraid of opening myself up to get hurt. Now, most of that's on me. But it's like this read. I mean, if both people are holding back, we can't blame one way or the other. You know, if you're holding back for whatever reason, and and you're not a bad person for holding back. I don't feel like I'm a bad person for holding back. I feel like I'm going to be paying my own dues for it. But like I said, sometimes just because we feel a certain way about someone doesn't mean they know it. And if we don't say what's on our mind and in our heart, if we don't put it all out there, you know, we could lose everything. I mean, I've seen people that were meant to be together fall apart for the simple reason that neither one of them, you know, one didn't feel like the other one was committing, so they didn't commit. And all it would have took is that one authentically honest conversation. But it's like we're afraid of being vulnerable. And sometimes our fear of being vulnerable outweighs the fear of being alone. At least in our mind, until it's too late. But like I said, with this, I feel like things need to be said. And I feel like you can be honest with this person about everything else to this point. You know, this is someone that you just feel like no judgment. You feel safe with them. You feel comfortable with them. You know, you feel like you can tell them everything, but you don't. And that'll always be that Achilles heel. When you're with someone that means the world to you, you share the world with them. You share your world with them. No questions, no exemptions. You know, that's it. That's all. And it sounds like a lot, but you don't want to live with that regret of not doing everything you can. That's what I have for you. Be good. Take care. Stay safe.